Nobody would have thought that I would be the one. Rhyner, sports talk. Baseball, 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 baseball.
Oh, with the big mic. Oh, okay. All right, yeah. Okay, now I get it.
We got a lightning strike, boys. What happened over there, Grego? We had a little lightning strike right outside the window.
All right. Here's a tip for all these Americano League teams.
Wait, you said tip?
Yeah, tip.
Okay.
With a P.
Keep jamming.
The ticket, colon, nothing but a big Gen X jerk-off sake.
This is a cool night or what?
Although somebody would hear that and go, bullshit.
I'm back, bitches.
And hello once again, boys and girls. Welcome to another episode of Your Dark Companion. This being episode 155, we're told, on the 22nd day of September. The first day of fall, although it's not really terribly fallish out there, but it will come. It always does.
I'm hearing Wednesday. It's going to be pretty decent.
Well, we got the whole crew assembled in here. That is Shoopy. Ashley's here. Becca is here. I would be Mike Rhyner. And I'm very excited about today because there have been a lot of people who have occupied a pretty high profile in the world of sports around here during my period of whatever little influence I might have had. And, yeah, we've seen a lot of guys come and a lot of guys go, but one guy who hung around for a while and did rather well for himself in it is the great Mark Cuban, and he is with us today. And he completes the first brother act we've had here on Your Dark Companion.
Following the footsteps of my brother Brian.
Yes, who was with us, a good while ago.
I believe I said episode 61.
Wow.
It's nearly 100 episodes ago.
It's always ahead of me.
Well, it's Mark in here today.
Yep.
How are you, man?
I'm doing great. Thanks for having me on, Michael.
Well, we appreciate you coming in here and spending a little time and shooting the bull with us a little bit here.
Sure.
So, what do you do with yourself these days, man?
I got a lot going on. I mean, primarily it's costplusdrugs.com.
Yeah.
Right. That's what I'm spending almost all my time on, just trying to change healthcare and just trying to grow it. And it's been growing so fast, and we're expanding into manufacturing, or we're expanding our manufacturing. We're expanding into medical healthcare, not just pharmaceutical. So there's a lot to do, and it's a big goal to try to change healthcare.
This is something that those who are aware of what you've been up to all these years, we know that's been in there somewhere. Mm-hmm. It's not exactly the kind of thing people would want to talk to you about. You always had a thing that was a little bit more high profile than that. But how long have you been doing Cost Plus and been involved in this sort of thing? January
19th of 2022 is when we launched, but it started 2 years before then. So I've been working on it a long time, even while I owned the Mavs. But it was always something. Running the Mavs was fine and everything, and sports is great, but just wanted to have a bigger impact. And I just thought, if there was a path to truly change healthcare, starting with pharmacy, which I think we've done, that was a worthwhile path.
Yeah. What is life without the Mavs like for you?
It's different. That's for damn sure.
Because I know firsthand how much you poured into that.
Oh yeah, for sure. My heart and soul. It's good and it's bad. Like the other day was my wedding anniversary, and I didn't have to worry about where's camp, where are we going, where are the players at, where am I going to be, And it was my son's birthday before that, and just it's just I can just be a basketball fan again, which is nice. And I can be like a lot of other fans, not always happy.
Yeah.
And not be responsible for the unhappiness, So, it's certainly been different. And probably the biggest difference is I don't get to make the final decisions on, players. the business side, there was always a CEO or somebody to run it, and I didn't run it to try to make a lot of money or make money at all a lot of years. But the basketball side's the hardest. That's what I miss the most, because there's certain times when I disagree, and there's not a whole lot I can do now.
Yeah. That came down in a very strange way.
It really did. Yeah.
And, we were told that when you sold the team, you were going to be the basketball ops guy,
yeah. I
right?
mean, I sat there with Nico, Michael Finley, Matt Riccardi, Andrew Baker, the whole staff, and that's exactly what I told them. That was exactly my understanding at the time. Whoops.
So did it just not get put into writing? Or?
Well, so I tried to put it into writing, and there was a little thing, and it didn't say I would run all basketball operations. What it said was I had the opportunity. I was, if I wanted it, my choice, I could go be in every meeting, every discussion, every trade call, everything. But then the NBA took that out and basically said, well, that's Patrick Dumont's choice when he wants to allow you to do that. And I was like, okay, we're so far along. I didn't want to screw things up. It was just, I just thought it would still pan out that way.
Yeah.
Sometimes you sign a contract, right? And it's just like, all right, I trust the people I'm working with, and, things happen and it doesn't work out the way you expect.
Like we mentioned a moment ago, you put a lot into that. You put heart, soul, money, time, everything that a person possibly can put into something.
And then more money, yeah.
And then more money, and then more time, and then more heart and soul.
More heart and soul, yep.
I mean, everything a person could possibly put into something, you put into that franchise.
23 years. Yep.
How did you know it was time for you for something to change? Yeah,
It was. I really came to the conclusion in October of 22, and it was just wearing on me that it was just so contentious. Everything was always so contentious. It was harder to just run the team and enjoy the game.
Yeah.
And I just kept on thinking to myself, you go on social media for any number of different reasons, from cost plus drugs to the Mavs to whatever, right? Shark Tank. And it was always hate, and it was always somebody trying to pick a fight. I mean, how many times have or how many times I went and responded to somebody on Twitter and then deleted it before I wrote it, right? Or before I hit send. And it wasn't near as much fun. And
this wore on you over a period of time?
Yeah, it's just built up, we had Luka, which was great. The guys were great. It was never about the players. When I first got there, the players were the source of stress. And the fans, and with the ticket and everything, it was like, okay, the people who call in, the P1s who call in are always mad. That's a smidgen, right? And if I'm not listening, I don't hear them.
Yeah.
But on social media, which you almost have to use for any, your business and anything you're doing, it's just an onslaught. And I was like, okay, I'm getting up there, I'm not going to run this thing forever. Do I want to just turn it over to my kids? And I saw what's happened with Jerry, and it's worked out well with him. Charlotte, Steven, Jr., et cetera, have been great. But I saw what also happened in other teams in the NBA, and there were kids that didn't want to be there, And I also, it's hard enough for my kids to follow in my footsteps as is. I wanted them to kind of find their own path.
Yeah.
And so that estate, just all the time, just all those things added up, and just like, I also felt like, when I'd go into the Board of Governors meetings, it was all changing. Like when I first got there, I could have an impact because it was very entrepreneurial.
Yeah.
David Stern might smack me down a few times or find me, and then even Adam, but it was always, okay, it's about the fans, it's about this, it's about that, right? But then it started becoming about valuations only. As teams started bringing in more money from private equity, and not like, I'm part of this group called Harbinger that does private equity for sports teams, but we deal with minority interests.
Yeah.
The minority interests, like I'm finding out now, don't have a whole lot of influence, but the big PE firms do, right? They have all these stipulations. And I was like, all they cared about was valuations. And I just used to get frustrated because, you know, I wanted to talk about the referees. I wanted to talk about the fans. I wanted to talk about prices for the fans. Are we outpricing everybody? Media, you know, it's hard to get access to games. And it was like, what, you know, but the valuations are going up. And you just take all of that, and it was just enough.
And you were always a little bit more of a product guy.
Yeah, I mean,
concerned about the product.
Yeah, concerned about the product and concerned about the customer.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, we had, to the day I left, you know, we had 4,000 seats, and it was a mandate from me that we had 4,000 seats or more that are $29 or less. And that was up from $19 maybe 5 years before that. And that was up from $2 10 years before that. Not 4,000 $2 seats, but at least 1,000.
Yeah.
Right? You know, and I always looked at it that if our TV revenues kept on going up, I can make my, you know, my ticket prices cheaper. And I remember like beaming with pride when the morning news, I think it was, or maybe it was the Sports Business Journal, came out with something that showed that our prices were lower than SMU prices, lower than the Wings prices, lower than, you know. And I'm like, that's good. That's exactly the way I wanted it.
Yeah. Who was the first person that you bounced the idea that you're thinking about selling off of? Do you remember?
Adam Silver.
Really?
And I just sent him an email. And I mean, and it was not long after that, I had a meeting with my family and I told them. And my kids were pissed, right? They wanted the option of taking over at some point. But, you know, they were 13, 16, and 19, you know. So two of them were still young in high school and one had just started college. And, you know, they were upset. My wife understood. But that's really who I bounced it off of.
Did your kids express any interest before?
Well, they were you know, my son is all about basketball. You know, Fred VanVleet, unfortunately, you know, tears his ACL, and we're texting back and forth about the impact. He lives basketball.
And by the way, that happened today.
Literally, yeah.
Yeah, and he lives basketball. You know, and unfortunately, he's taller than me now. He kicks my ass playing basketball at 16, which really makes me mad. But you know, I wanted him to be him. I wanted my girls to be themselves. And just like I went to Indiana University, I wouldn't let them go to Indiana University because, you know, my picture's on the wall and all this stuff. I'm just like, no, you know, that's just not what I want. I want you guys to find your own way, but that's not what they wanted to hear, obviously.
Yeah. Did anybody on the inside of the game or on the inside of the team try and talk you out of it?
Not really. Because we all were under the impression that not a lot would change because I was going to keep on running the team on the basketball side.
Yeah.
You know, I told him obviously a lot would change on the business side because hopefully the goal would be to build a new arena, something I don't want to do, and that also was part of it, right? To build a new arena, put aside what the cost is, it's the time. You know, and taking the time to learn how to build an arena. I'm trying to change the healthcare industry, which takes a lot of time and knowledge, right? Trying to learn, you know, how many toilets is the right ratio to seats and parking spots and all that stuff and the technology that goes with that. That's not something that I wanted to do. You know, and then so Patrick I'd known a long time, and he's brilliant at that stuff and brilliant at the casino stuff, and I was like, okay, I've got the right partner for that.
Tell us a little bit about what kind of guy he is. I mean, if you've known him for a long time, we know very little about him. He doesn't make himself available to
He's
media.
not a big talker to the media.
No, hardly at all. I mean, what are we getting into with him?
I like Patrick a lot. I think he's a good guy. He's smart. He's got a good heart. He's got a good family. He's got 2 kids that are like 11 and 13, give or take now, that are into basketball. He grew up liking the game. I'm not going to tell you he's a basketball savant, but he spent a lot of time. He's come a long way from the beginning. But he also runs Sands Corporation, rather, and that's a big job with 6,000 employees. So, you know, he doesn't have a lot of time like I did to be at the games and, you know, just always be there. But he cares about winning. He cares about people. He cares about the employees. He cares about the players. And, I mean, there's never any doubt in my mind that he's a good guy, you know. Now, sometimes he trusts the wrong people, but that's a different issue. We all do it from time to time.
So are you ready to look into the camera and tell the YDC crowd that this is all going to be okay? We are in the hands of good people here.
Yes. I think we're in the hands of, I think the governor, Patrick, is great. I think Rick Welts is great. I think, even on the basketball side, there's some really good people. But we've got a great roster. We've got to stay healthy. Obviously, that's the big thing. But, the basketball gods and $100 million to Adam Silver helped us get the first pick. That's my story, and I'm sticking to it.
Okay.
No, I know,
helps.
Adam. No, I know. It was more, but that's okay.
Can't wait for that headline tomorrow.
No, I mean, all indications are that Cooper's the real deal. And we went through this before with Luka. I remember when we drafted Luka. So first of all, we had to trade, and that was just like minutes before our pick came up. I got that done, and we got Luka, and I'm thinking, okay, we just traded a pick. And the worst part about that, going all through all that, we worked really hard to have a really bad record, and then Salah Mesri hits a 3-pointer against Memphis, to send it into overtime and we win. And oh my Lord, this is going backwards. But then instead of getting the pick we should have got, which would have been number 3, we got number 5. And up until this year, the Mavs have never moved up in the draft, only down or stayed the same. And so, but when we drafted Luka, I was terrified. I loved the fact that we were picking him. I watched all the tape of him at Real Madrid, watched all the tape, particularly against him playing against OKC when they played Real Madrid when he was 17. I'm like, this kid is fearless. This kid knows how to play. He's got a lot of stuff to him. He takes big shots. And he was, 17, 18 years old. But it doesn't mean it's going to work. Nobody drafts somebody that high and say, hey, he's going to suck, right? You always have really high expectations and hopes. And so I remember we all went to China his rookie year, and we were playing the Sixers, who just torched us. But they had global ambassadors that go to these foreign games. And so we had Sean Marion, and I think Steven Jackson was the other one. And every time he did something, I'm like, what do you think? 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 And he'd make a play. Oh, that's nice. That's nice. Bounce pass between his legs. Oh, that's nice, right? We'll see. And then we get to the preseason, and it's like, all right. And then, but every time the guys, when they'd play, they just said he always won. No matter what. When the guys play pickup, whatever it was, practice, always won. I'm like, that's a positive. And then we get into the season and you start seeing Luka magic. And it was really special to watch. But, I was terrified because like I said, no one's ever made a top 10 pick and thought they weren't going to be good.
Yeah. Was there ever a particular point that you remember where you stopped being terrified?
Yeah, there was a bunch
to say, okay, this is going to work.
Yeah, you'd see these passes that reminded me of Jay Kidd when he played for us. You'd see, he wasn't a great shooter, but he could always get to the basket. Just like at will, he could get right to the rim. And, he was learning how to finish and, finish at full speed and all that. But he was getting there just like effortlessly. And then we had this game against Portland where he hit that corner 3 to take it into overtime. And I thought, oh, my God, this is the guy that is in front of all the other guys.
Yeah.
And that's who he was.
All right. So since we brought him up, let's go back to the night.
Yeah, the night.
Yes.
I've erased the date from my mind, but I remember the rest vividly.
Where were you?
I was at an event for Cost Plus Drugs in Florida. And I was there with a bunch of politicians trying to sell Cost Plus Drugs and convince them about this and that. And I got a text, I think it was, or maybe Nico called, and I saw he called, where it was a text, I forget, saying, call me. I guess I don't remember as vividly as I thought, and I did. And he was like, hey, we traded Luka. I'm like, you're thinking about trading Luka? No, we traded him. I'm like, for who, for what? And he told me. I'm like, went through my list of reasons why I didn't like it. And he was like, it is what it is. And then I called Patrick, and, Patrick kind of told me what Nico had told him. Again, I didn't agree, but it is what it is. And, that's the history, and it's done. And, can't get it back. You just got to go forward. And I've made plenty of bad mistakes on trades too, and so I'm not going to cast aspersions because we had the Rondo trade and others that didn't work out so well.
Well, nobody bats 1,000 in those things.
No,
for sure.
Of course not. Yeah, I remember being at Stephen Colbert had like a 10-year anniversary thing, and I was one of the celebrities that I was invited. I mean, all these super big names, right? And I was like, what the hell am I doing here? But then the rumor started to spread that, we were going to trade for Rondo. So all the basketball fans that were there, like all these big name people. And then I got the call that everybody had agreed. So I'm walking around going, yeah, we got Rondo. Yeah, how'd that turn out?
Yeah, well,
that's the Dwight Powell trade now.
We have our hits and misses in this
Yes, we
world.
do.
Everybody does,
Yes, we do. And I love Rajon. Rajon's a good dude, or at least was with me and everything, and I never had a problem with him. But he and Coach Carlisle did not get along.
Well, got to have chemistry all the way around in these things, don't you?
Yes,
I mean, this is a chemistry-driven game, right?
It really is. People really don't understand how important team camaraderie and chemistry is. You don't have to all like each other. You can get mad at each other like in a family, but you have to respect each other, and everybody's got to put in the work to move forward. And sometimes it doesn't happen. And yeah, There's been times over the years where I remember. There was a time, it was probably 2008, 2009, and we were struggling, and we were in Sacramento. And I walked into the locker room at halftime. I'm like, everybody get paid this week? Anybody not get paid? They're like, what the hell? If you got paid, play like you got paid. Of course, we lost the game, but it was a lot, it wasn't the year we wanted, but yeah, I mean, there's probably 3 times, 4 times maybe, where I'd walk into the locker room because it was all about chemistry.
You can cuss here, by the way.
Oh, you can? Okay,
Yeah.
fuck it, I'll say it.
You can say anything you want. We're not regulated by the FCC in any way.
You will be, but just not yet, right?
Yeah, eventually we probably will be, but right now we're not. So go wild.
Go wild.
I asked everybody where they were on that night, how they reacted to it. And where do you think this leaves the team? Because, I mean, I think this is the biggest sports catastrophe that we have ever had in our fair burg.
Obviously I disagreed with it, but, Nico, to his credit, hasn't done a bad job of checking the boxes he has needed to check since then. He signed all the guys he needed to sign this summer. And he got them to do team, considerate deals. I mean, we didn't get huge discounts, but, the little nuanced parts, are they tradable or not tradable, trade kicker or not. Mm-hmm. He did a good job there. And so, we've got a team of veterans. We're old and we're kind of injury prone, except for one guy who just got here. But, if we're able to stay healthy, we could have a really, really, really good team. And, I mean, we're still, like every team, we're missing some parts. We don't have enough three-point shooting. But if we stay healthy and guys, Clay's going to make shots, D'Lo's going to make shots, we'll see how our bigs if I keep on putting pressure on D-Live, for him to start taking more threes and making more threes. But with a little bit of luck, we could have a really good team. And, again, I've said my piece on the Luka deal, but, just to be brutally honest, what we did to sign the guys that we did and the deals we did, he did a really good job.
Yeah. Do you think the fans are over this yet or anywhere near over it?
No, I mean, I think now that it's been more and more time, when I would talk about it earlier, I thought, okay, the fans will get over it. That just happened.
Yeah.
They got over Steve Nash, but now I think it's just like somebody really close to you, something bad happened, and at some point you get over the grieving process and you go on with your life, but it doesn't mean there's not a part in your heart that will ever go away.
Yeah.
And that's kind of where I've gotten to now where, Luka's always going to have a part of our heart, but, the divorce happened and we'll move on.
Do you think the fan base is at a point where they can.
I don't think
they can accept it like that.
I don't know that it's an acceptance as much as it is a recognition of just reality. You know, the parents had a divorce. You never thought it would happen. You'll still miss, you know, whoever you're not living with, and it's going to, that part's awful. But you're still a family. You know, the rest of the family has got to be together. I don't know, lousy analogy, but you get the point, right? You can miss somebody and still feel the pain, but still. I don't think fans, to second part of the question, I don't think fans are going to turn their backs on the Mavs. I think, you know, the thing about sports, Father Time's undefeated. So it wasn't a question of if he'd be gone at some point, it's just when and how.
Yeah.
And, you know, now we've got Cooper Flagg, and that's just brought a whole new level of hope, which, you know, knock on wood, if he is who we all think he is, you know, people will focus on that, you know, and out of respect to Cooper, too. You know, when somebody's laying, you know, Cooper's all basketball all the time with some video games and some golf, a lot of golf. But he works so hard. This is his job, and he knows it. He wants to be the best, and he puts in the effort. From that perspective, he's like Dirk. He's a lot like Dirk. You know, diet, focus, always wanted to add something to your game. And I think while we'll always miss Luka, I think out of respect for Cooper and the effort he puts in, I think fans are really going to come to love him.
All right, now I want you to do something for everybody that I've tried to do.
I didn't bring my wallet.
We can do Apple Pay.
I have a hard time doing this, though.
Okay.
I mean, if you can explain to everybody what the difference between Luka and Cooper is going to be like. I mean, that's what I try and tell them, that they're two very different players.
So, you know, Luka's from a part of the world where basketball is a religion. Not like people love it here, not even like football, American football, more like basketball is above soccer, you know, in Lithuania and particularly Serbia and Slovenia and Czechoslovakia. I mean, it is like at a different level, but also how people just enjoy their lives. They came from a part of the world that had civil wars and, you know, bombing all the time, and, you know, were part of the Soviet Union, and then they weren't, and then, you know, I don't even know all the history, but, you know, there was, you know, leaders who killed people and all this stuff, right? And that just, the psyche is just different there. You know, you see it with Jokic, you see it with other Serbian players where, you know, they just enjoy life. You know, they've seen this shit, or their parents have seen this shit. And for them to have a beer, yeah, of course. You know, that's just what it is.
Right.
You know, think of all the times people gave, you know, Jokic a hard time about his weight and everything else. You know, but
I mean, hell, a lot of them still do.
Yeah, right. But they're just, you know, think of Boban. You know, Boban is just, you know, he's the man, right? And everybody loved him, but, you know, his attitude was always very loving, but fun. We're going to have fun. Boban always wanted to go out. And I think you have to understand that mentality and just how, you know, the cultural differences. Whereas Cooper, even though Dirk's from Germany, is just all basketball all the time. You know, it's his American dream to be the best. And he works at that level because that's what he was raised to do. But being born and raised in the United States, particularly up in Vermont, is a whole different beast than being born in Serbia or Slovenia. And I think that's part of what we didn't grasp when we traded him. But again, for Cooper, he is just laser focused. I mean, when, you know, I'm not going to say we've talked a lot, only a couple times. I met his parents once, but when I talk to the people around him and just keep up with things, it's just like he's great with kids, but it's all basketball all the time. And I think that is a big part of what people are really going to respect, and Mavs fans are really going to respect about Cooper.
Would you say he's a basketball savant? Like some we've seen come through here on?
Yeah, in terms of basketball IQ, playing both sides of the court. But doing it at college level is different than doing it at the NBA level.
Right.
So we'll see where he fits there. But, his basketball IQ is Rajon Rondo, LeBron-like. His athleticism is Kobe-like, and the piss and vinegar and shit in him is Kobe-like too. I'm not saying he's Kobe, right? But Kobe wasn't the most athletic player, but he worked on his skills. He worked on his craft continuously, and he understood the mental part of the game so that, how do you get an edge? He was always looking for the edge. And, Cooper talks some of that trash the same way. And so it's going to be, again, I'm not trying to put pressure on Coop. He'll be who he is because he has kids these days just grow up differently when it comes to basketball. But I think he's going to be something incredibly special.
This is Mark Cuban with us today here on Your Dark Companion. And we'll have more with Mark momentarily. We got a lot of other stuff to get into here. But first, it's time now for the dreaded and feared mid-show read.
Get ready.
That's right. Stand by, kids. I'm about to tell you something you absolutely cannot do without. Are you in pain? Are you anxious? Can you sleep at night? If the answer to those questions is yes to the first two and no to the third, then you need to do something about this. There is a way for you to free yourself of this and do it all naturally. That is at the CBD House of Healing. At the CBD House of Healing, they carry only products from their lab made to meet the highest quality and purity standards. Everything is natural there. Find your relief from the aches and the pains, the emotional drain, the stress, and everything that goes with it, and sleep again at the House of Healing. Now, the great thing about the House of Healing is you walk in there and they're not going to try to sell you something just because you walked in the door. No, their owner is an RN. She's going to listen to what you have to say. She's going to listen to what's going on, and she will point you in the right direction. Shop online. They're at cbddallas.com or in person, and grab a slushie while you're there. That 8550 Plano Road, Suite 101 in Dallas. That is at the northeast quadrant of the burgeoning intersection of Plano Road and Northwest Highway. Begin your healing at the House of Healing. And effective now, all vape products will be sold online only. Go to @cbddallas.com for more on that. Is that it? We got more?
We survived.
All right. We made it through that. God, I'm so relieved.
It's hard to read that straight up.
Yeah, I've been doing it for 2 years now, and only now am I starting to think that I'm getting it right a little bit.
You're doing great.
Yeah, I'm not doing great. Oh. So let me ask you.
You're doing great.
Do you thank you, Mark. Thank you, Mark. That means a lot coming from you.
Yeah, right.
Do you think that you will watch the team play in the same way that you always have?
Oh, yeah. I mean, if I don't get into it, it doesn't make sense to yell at the refs. And if I don't yell at the refs, what's the point in going? Yeah, I'll be there for sure. We start off October 6th at Dickey's in Fort Worth, and I'll be there, So that's only a couple weeks away. I'm ready.
Who are your favorite refs these days?
None of them. No, the funny thing is, they're all so much nicer to me now because they know I can't get them in trouble. It's just like I'll text the guy, this happened in this game. They're like, "Hey, Mark, how you doing?"
Or just new phone who dis.
Yeah, it's just like it's a whole new world. They don't have to listen to me. So now they're all my best friends. They don't care. They come up to me and shake my hand and, how the kids, ask about his kids, what's his name? Scott Foster is like Mr. Pickleball, and I have part ownership in a pickleball team, so he wants to ask me about that all the time. I'm like, he says he wants to be a general manager at some point. I'm like, will you take care? No.
You think we'd ever see a referee turn into a general manager?
That's not a bad idea. I think they couldn't do any worse than some of the ones that are out there now.
Do you think you're finished with basketball and sports?
No. The way it turned out, if there was an NBA team that became available that was in the South where it's warmer, closer here, then I'd probably be interested. Like one of my good basketball buddies, Tom Dundon, is the one buying the Portland Trail Blazers.
Yeah.
He lives here in Dallas, and we've played basketball together for years and years and years. Great guy, but when they became available, I don't want to. That's too far.
Now, he's the guy that owns the Carolina Hurricanes too, right?
Yeah. Yep, he'll do a good job. He loves basketball. I used to, he's telling me I want to learn about what you're doing. And I used, when Rick was the coach, Carlisle was the coach, I used to take him to meetings and everything. And so he got some training from us.
I've got an idea. Buy the Spurs, then trade Wemby.
To the Mavs?
Yeah.
I'll call you.
Sweet.
Yeah, double suicide.
Finally get revenge on the Spurs.
Yeah, double suicide.
Yeah.
Right?
That's not a bad idea,
just saying.
Shuby. You're thinking about stuff there.
I think we're
Right,
thinking
get ahead
about
of it.
things.
And by the way, one of my best friends from college, his name was Shuby.
No way.
Yeah. Michael Schubach.
That's awesome.
Shooby Dooby Dooby. Yeah, we were on the rugby team together, so we were close.
Can we talk a little bit about this thing going on with the Clippers?
Sure.
First of all, explain the basics if they can be explained here.
They can't be explained. A podcast.
I mean, this is a very confusing story.
yeah.
Yet I've suspected in the darkest corners of my dark sports soul.
That's hence the name of the show.
Yeah. That things like this, or things like what I think is happening, have been going on in sports for some years.
I can't speak to other sports, but like I would tell our guys, I'm the most scrutinized owner in probably all of professional sports when I own the team. I'm like, we ain't cheating no matter what, right? And so, because they'll come after me like a hawk. And so we didn't. And I really don't think, you hear little things now and then, but it's just so stupid. There's just like so much at risk. And we all know if you own a team long enough, it's 90% luck and 10% skill.
Yeah.
And so there's just,
Like everything else.
yeah, and it's just, I just don't see it. But in this particular case, this company called Aspiration that changed its name to Katona Climate went bankrupt March of 2025, March of this year. And in their bankruptcy listing, it showed that Kawhi Leonard was owed $7 million. And so somebody decided to ask the question, why was he owed $7 million? And so they dug into it, and the company that signed the deal with Kawhi turned out to be a complete scam. And it was really unfortunate, heartbreaking in a lot of ways, because one of the founders, who was the primary, the biggest shareholder, chairman of the board, controlled the board of directors, turned out to be a scam artist. He and one of his fellow board of directors members that just stole everything. And it was unfortunate because pretty much everybody else that worked there, what this company did was, first they had a bank where if you used a credit card, they'd take a percentage of the fees to go and buy carbon credits or to plant a tree or whatever it was. So if you were an environmentally friendly person, it was something that'd be of interest to you. But that didn't work out that well. And then there was a second part of their business, which was business to business. So if you had a company, say the Mavs, and you wanted to be carbon neutral, you wanted to buy offsets or plant trees or whatever you wanted to do to offset your carbon, then you could work with them, among other companies. And so the company was such a mess because this guy was a crook. And everybody inside the company was just trying to do the right thing. But this guy who, basically raised all the money, started the company, he went off on his own tangents. And so to Kawhi, they hired him in April of 2022 to be a spokesperson, but he never ended up doing anything. And so people presumed that if he didn't do anything, and every time that the owner of the Clippers or the Clippers buying stuff from them, or a minority owner of the Clippers put in money, that they thought it was unique or interesting that 2 of those times when they put in money, that led to Kawhi being paid, because the podcast had somebody who worked inside Aspiration. But the person who worked inside Aspiration was in the finance accounts payable department, didn't really know at the highest levels what was going on. So the podcast believes that the Clippers circumvented the salary cap because they were directing money to this, what they called a no-show deal for Kawhi Leonard.
Yeah.
That's the general gist of the story. I'm in a unique position because I've invested in companies where I've gotten scammed, right? Just like this guy scammed Ballmer and Dennis Wong. I've obviously been an NBA owner, and I've been involved to not a big extent, but in the carbon credit industry, and made an investment there. And so I kind of had a feel for all the components, and I've run businesses, etc. I looked at it and said, ain't no way. That the money that goes in there was a $50 million investment initially by the owner of the Clippers, and they said that money was used to pay the $28 million for Kawhi. But that company, if you looked at the financial statements while they were still legit financial statements, burned right through it. There was no way it did. And so they kept on saying it every time there was an investment, because Kawhi ended up getting paid twice near the times of those investments, it must be salary cap circumvention. And I was like, what about all the other times, right? They never documented, maybe he will at some point, but they never documented his 3rd payment, his 4th payment, his 5th payment. And then the guy who scammed everybody came out and said, well, my marketing department doesn't agree that I hired Kawhi, so I'm going to give him $20 million of my own stock. Now, we don't know if that ever closed, but what we do know is when he did that in May of 22, he was the only one who knew that the company was bankrupt and that he also owed money that he couldn't pay back. So the company was imploding, but he kept on telling investors that things were fine. And so, long story short, I don't think anything happened. I don't think, until you show me that Kawhi got paid all these payments. Yeah. Because even, the math doesn't math. If he signed a 4-year deal on April 1st of 2022, who was paying him in 24-25 and 23-24 when the company had no money? And there's no documentation for it at all. Maybe they come up with something, but, and I'll add you one other piece. So they're saying all this money that's going in is all about Kawhi, when the day before, this company, Aspiration, signs a deal with the Boston Red Sox to put their logo right next to the on-deck circle. Yeah. And that was at least $5 million because the Red Sox were in the Chapter 11 filings too. It doesn't make any sense to me that the money that was put in was only exclusively going to Kawhi, right? And ignoring the Red Sox and ignoring paying payroll and ignoring all this other stuff. It's just, it's a mess. And as it turns out, the guy who was manipulating all of this and creating false statements, he and his buddy who made the false statements have already admitted guilt, and they're about to be sentenced to go to jail.
Now, as a guy who sees and has a better view and has seen and has a better view of this side of sports than any of the rest of us, do you think this goes on more than we know about, this type of thing?
I mean, on the margin, small things, like, I'll bust myself and said, I gave the credit card to Dirk and said, take everybody out to dinner, or I gave it to Luka or whoever, take everyone. By definition, that's a salary cap violation. Yeah. Right? Or I would say, okay, anybody who takes a charge, it's $100. By definition, that's a salary cap violation. Do I think anybody says, take, $2 million less and I'll make it up to you somewhere else? No, that's too hard to pull off. And it also means, like, even in this Kawhi case, you have to trust the agent who is at risk of being decertified. Now, Kawhi's agent only has Kawhi as his big customer, but, I don't know how he pays his bills, but I'm guessing, that he doesn't want to be decertified because the NBA Players Association, if they ask him for information about what happened, he has to tell him or be decertified. And he put his own name on everything that was going to be in the filings. Why would you do that, right? That just brings attention to you if you were, trying to circumvent the salary cap. So none of it might make sense to me.
Who was your favorite agent?
I didn't have a favorite per se.
Or who could you stand? Let's put it that way.
I could stand them all. There's none I really didn't like. I mean, I like Mark Bartelstein a lot. Up until a couple of years ago, I liked Jeff Schwartz a lot. Up until JB, I liked Aaron Mintz a lot. There's always going to be times you didn't get the guy you wanted. Yeah. And then you get mad, or like back in the day when the whole DeAndre Jordan thing, you get really mad. But you're going to have to deal with them at some point when they have a player you want or a player you drafted.
Yeah, so you have to, no matter what happens, you've always got to maintain.
You got to get over it.
Yeah.
Like Mark Bartelstein, going way back at the beginning, he was the agent for Calvin Booth. And he put together this, Calvin Booth hits that big shot, and I want to re-sign him, but at a reasonable number. If you remember the playoff game against Utah, right, where we win and the series. And he puts together this huge presentation about why Calvin Booth should get the mid-level exception. I'm like, no. And he goes to Seattle. More power to Calvin, but not what we wanted.
Yeah. What's your favorite of all the playoff series that you presided over? And let's eliminate the championship series, okay? Think of one that we might not think of.
The Spurs.
Okay.
Dirk gets fouled by Manu Ginobili, hits the shots, and we go into overtime. But the best part of it was Sagana Jop. Dun, 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 dun. Sagana Jop. That was the thing we played. Sagana Jop. Dun, 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 dun. Sagana Jop. That still rings in my head. How many years? 19 years later.
Yes.
Sagana Jop. Dun, 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 dun. But anyway, Tim Duncan tweaked his ankle or knee or something, and Sagana Jop just took over. Like he was like, that was his, overtime was the the ultimate of his career.
Yeah.
It was just like unreal. So, because it was going back, we went up 3-1, they came back, and I remember saying to somebody, this is like a war. And I mean, some people have voted it the best playoff series ever.
What is the one that still rankles you today because it got away?
Yeah, 2006, the finals.
Oh, yeah.
Obviously. Yeah, it still pisses me off. And Dwayne Wade got mad at me because I said, the refs, sorry, Dwayne.
Some things you just don't get over.
Yeah, if you have any more kids, you should name them after Bennett Salvador. And I've said this, I've had this conversation with Bennett because he would come to games, right? He became a training ref and all that. And we laugh about it. And I'm saying all this marginally in jest, Dwayne. But yeah, that was obviously the toughest. Because I'll never forget, it was the third quarter of Game 3, first game in Miami, and we were up 14. And I'm right behind the bench, and I was standing up. I was all fired up, and I was thinking to myself, we might sweep these guys. And then Udonis Haslem steals the ball, gets a bucket. Okay. Then Shaquille O'Neal pushes Eric Dampier out of the way, and they call a foul on Damp. There's no universe in which that was a foul. Put aside all the stuff that happened with Dwayne. That alone was like red flag, ding, and then Shaq hits the free throws, and then I knew we were in trouble, and it went downhill from there.
Boy, did it ever.
Oh, yeah.
But, I mean, there can't be a Mavericks fan out there who thinks about that series and doesn't think about what Dwayne Wade got away with, and
You know,
how they
I kept little video or audio segments that I found from back then. Back then, I didn't go back and get them. Like Tracy McGrady suggesting that the series was rigged, and other players saying the same thing. And you know, and I haven't gone back and listened to them. But you know how sometimes you go through like your Google Drive or whatever, and you see old files, and I see it right there, and it's just like I won't listen to it, but I'm like, yeah, you're right, Tracy.
God. I mean, it was just
It was brutal. It was brutal.
And I'm a guy who tries to keep an even keel with things,
Yeah, just like me, right?
Yeah, just like you. And that was the single worst abomination that I think I've ever seen or ever will see.
It was brutal.
Yeah.
Just so painful. I literally could not leave my house for months. I did not want to be seen by anybody in Dallas. Seriously, I was just, it was just hurt, you know, and I didn't want to have to explain what happened. We lost, you know. I just didn't want to deal with it.
Yeah. Was there ever anything else that affected you quite that way?
Game wise, I mean, there were times when players got hurt, like when Dirk got hurt in 2011, watching Caron Butler get hurt. Thinking, okay, this season just ended. You know, and then I thought, you know, we had beaten the Spurs in 2006, and I think it was 2009 we played them, and I thought, okay, we're the better team. We're going to beat them. And George Hill just had the most incredible series ever, and I was like, who the fuck is George Hill?
Yeah.
You know, he was like.
I mean, it seems like the Mavs had a way of
blowing it back then. Yeah.
Of somebody on the other side who nobody knew anything about, just careering against them.
Yeah, for sure. So that one was really painful too.
All right, now we haven't said anything about Dirk so far today, and we can't let you get out of here without talking about him and what he meant.
Oh, everything. That's why there's a statue.
Yeah.
You know, I tried to build one outside the ticket of you, but they wouldn't let me.
No.
Let's get back on that. They'd love it. Yeah.
But, I mean, can you put into words exactly what
Just a good friend,
the guy
good
means?
Guy. I mean, just a heart of gold. What makes Dirk special is not just what he did on the court, not just how he did it, but just what a good guy he is. I mean, you know, when I first bought the team, it was Dirk, Finn, and Nash, and they basically taught me how to interact with fans because I had no idea. You know, they grew up being, you know, idolized and, you know, the superstar. I was just some schlub from Pittsburgh who bought the team, and, you know, how they treated fans taught me how to treat fans. And, you know, and since then, you know, it taught me how to teach my kids how to react to people because they see how I react to them. And I think that is as special about Dirk as anything, just how he connects to and relates to and respects everybody. You know, he might talk some shit in German under his breath, but he's going to be nice to you and you're not going to know it.
Could you see, as a very young player, when he first arrived on the scene and everything?
I wasn't sure because when I came to the Mavs, all we did, you know, even me as a fan, I was like, all we do is draft big white stiffs, you know.
Oh, yeah.
Bruno Sundorf, Chris Anstey, no disrespect to those guys, you know. Dirk Nowitzki. We gave up tractor trailer for Dirk Nowitzki. And
I thought that was an awful trade at the time.
Yeah, and it was just like, you know, we were bad. And when you're bad, no one presumes that anybody on your team is going to be transcendental, right?
Yeah.
You know, and just be a generational player. But when it really turned for me was, I think it was my second full year, we played Minnesota. And it was KG and Wally Zerbiak and company. And that was back when it was best out of 5 in the first series. And we swept them, but Dirk, like everybody thought KG was just going to punk Dirk.
Yeah.
Dirk was putting up 30 and 20. Not like 25 and 10. 30 and 20 multiple games. And then I realized, okay, he had a whole nother level that I didn't even understand that he could go to.
Now, you were starting to come around on him by then, weren't you?
Oh yeah, that was. No, I knew, but there's a difference between this kid's going to be an all-star, versus this kid's going to be a superstar.
Yeah.
We knew he was good, but being a superstar is a whole nother level.
Wow. And now he's an icon.
Oh yeah, around the world.
Yeah.
And
especially here, one of the biggest sports icons we've ever had. You can put him up against anybody.
Ever. I think he's, I love Emmett. I love Troy, Tony, but I think he's up there. Mike Modano, Pudge, but there's nobody that really supplants him at the top of Mount Dallasmore.
Yeah. Boy, we've had some good ones, but yes, he is the one, man. He is the one.
I've got a name that I want to know his thoughts on.
Okay.
Bill Mazeroski.
Yeah, the Mavs. It's funny that in my Instagram.
First of all, I can't believe this is coming from you.
Right? Shooby-dooby-doo.
He told us a story beforehand that.
Well, okay,
all right.
That's why I was wondering.
Yeah, and so literally in my Instagram feed 2-3 weeks ago, I'm still best friends with my high school buddies. And so we have our group text chat. And so whenever anything Pittsburgh related comes up or sports, during the Steelers game, we're talking shit to each other and everything. But I got the video of him and my Instagram feed hitting the game-winning Game 7 walk-off home run at Forbes Field against the Yankees over right field. And that, like in Pittsburgh, that's like the thing, because it was like the ultimate. People don't realize the Yankees were favored like murderers row versus us,
This was right in the middle of the big Yankees dynasty of the 50s and 60s.
Yankees won everything, and they expected. Now, obviously, it was before my time. I wasn't watching the game or anything. But since then, they tore down Forbes Field and built PNC Park, which is like the most beautiful baseball stadium in all the MLB. It's incredible. I was just there a couple of weeks ago to go to a game. They sucked, but they got some pitching. But anyways, so the right field wall that they hit it over, Bill Mazeroski hits his walk-off World Series winning home run. I don't even know how many times that's been done, but even when they tore down Forbes Field, they kept that right field wall. And that was a very important wall to me, as Shuby's alluding to, because that's in Oakland, which is where the University of Pittsburgh is, which is when I would go home for the summer. When I was in Indiana, or at Indiana University, I would go down there. And because I worked as a bouncer and bartender and all that during the summer, I would stay on this 387022 Dawson Avenue, right at the corner. And just up a little hill was the right field wall. And from time to time, I had a roommate. So if I was kicked out of the apartment, I'd just go plant myself, with, try to get a little makeout session going right there at the right field wall. I'm 19, 20 years old. Sure. As Dirk would say, a little something, something. And so that right field wall of Bill Mazeroski fame in Oakland, Pittsburgh, has a lot of great memories for me that, thank God, are not on video.
Y'all both
Moving
scored.
on.
Yeah, just for the record, Pittsburgh is a very, very underrated city.
Oh, I love Pittsburgh.
And
if it weren't for the weather, I'd still be there. The weather sucks.
If you want a good, fun baseball trip, there is none better than to go to Pittsburgh, going to PNC. I mean, PNC is great by itself, but the town has so much.
Yeah, it's really changed a lot.
Yeah.
It went from the steel mill town to now University of Pittsburgh Medical Center dominates the town, and it's become kind of a destination, particularly because of Pitt and Carnegie Mellon, but a destination for AI and technology and healthcare technology. So it's really changed a lot.
Yeah, it's got a great downtown. It's got beautiful, Shinley Park, which is great.
Yeah, Shinley Park is amazing. Yeah, that's right where I was born.
Anything you could possibly want. It's a great trip, believe me.
So Wiz Khalifa, Mac Miller, rest in peace, Mac, and I were born within half a mile of each other in Squirrel Hill. Yeah.
How are your rap skills?
It's a hip hop, hippy da hip hop.
Yeah.
Yeah. His might be about like mine.
You got some skills.
No, I don't.
No, I know.
No, I don't. I don't. Well, Mark Cuban, this has been terrific,
It's
man.
been fun. Yeah, thanks for having me on, Mike.
Well, thank you so much for doing it, man.
Sir. It was a lot of fun.
All right, now we got to get us out of here. Is that right? Oh, we got.
Oh. Uh-oh.
Just, you know what, leave it. We don't need it. You know.
No, I want to say it. I like saying this.
So you want to read what's on there?
Yeah, I do. So let me get to it and let me see it here.
Or maybe Mark wants to read it.
What is it? CBD stuff?
Yeah, CBD stuff.
No, probably
That's what it
better
is.
Fair enough.
No more CBD.
Yeah.
Swimming in the waters of the hot.
Yes, that's right. Well, it's not there, so
Oh,
okay.
screw it.
Just find us, like us, share us.
Oh no! If it's a
us
promo
out
for you guys, here, turn it to me, and I'll read it.
No, it's not on there. He's just got something rolling now.
Yeah, I got the CBD thing. I guess for certain metaphysical
Like,
reasons.
share, review.
Dear gosh.
I guess for certain metaphysical reasons, none of us can possibly comprehend. We just can't get to it today.
Hold on.
I think it's pilot error.
You think?
No, it really was not.
Oh, it really
No,
wasn't? Oh.
it's not. It's not
I'm
me.
sorry.
No, it's me.
Oh.
I'm sorry, Mike.
It's not you, it's me.
This time.
For once, it's actually Ashley. It's usually Shoopy over there.
Is this going to get fixed, or can we go?
No, just roll.
Just roll.
Run with it. You know
You know,
it.
we're just
You
kidding.
do it all the time.
All right.
I'm so sorry.
Yeah, I don't know it all that well. So just like us, share us, tell people about us,
Cut! You fucked
and
it up.
get us on board here at Your Dark Companion. Thank you, Shuby. Thank you, Ashley. Thank you, Becca. Mark, thank you again.
Thanks, Mike. It was fun.
Great having you on.
Yep.
I'm Mike Rhyner. Bye.
All right. I'm gonna go take my pants off.
Your Dark Companion is a Stolen Water Media presentation.